Hello, welcome to Car Dealer Live. I'm James Baggett. I'm the founder of Car Dealer Magazine, and over the next few days and weeks, I'm going to be hosting a series of regular webinars, web chats like this with experts from the industry to help you in what is, I know, an incredibly tough time. Now we know the coronavirus pandemic has caused some serious, major issues across the country. Most car dealerships are now closed, but there's still a huge amount of questions to be answered. And business owners are desperate for information. In the coming days and weeks, I'm going to be chatting to some industry experts, suppliers, dealers and manufacturers, hopefully to keep you informed, entertained and up to date with the latest in what is an ever-changing picture. But as you can see, this is a new format for us. Please bear with us while we attempt to produce what you can see is something from my front room. My team are dotted around the country, helping pull this together. So please bear with us. We'll try our best. Okay, that's about enough about that. Let's get on with it. Today we've got Lawgistics with us. We've got a team of consultants from the legal firm that specialise in motor trade law. Joining me today from Lawgistics, we have Kirill Moskovchuk. Hopefully I've said that right.
Hello.
Kirill is an employment law specialist who joined Lawgistics in 2016. We've got Nona Balkis, who is a solicitor who joined Lawgistics in 2014. She is on the line. And we've also got Jason Williams. He's a former trading standards officer who joined Lawgistics in 2013. So, right, intro's done. Let's get cracking. Firstly, guys, you must have been incredibly busy this week, taking a lot of calls. Have the phones been pretty busy?
The phones have been ridiculous, to be fair. I mean, normally we've got one person on the legal helpline all day. We've had to double up, triple up, particularly after Boris's announcement on Monday evening. Because obviously people are worried because car showrooms were on the list where you couldn't trade, but garages were. There's still the social distancing measures. There's all the, what are we going to do with our staff? Can we stay open? If we stay open, how are we going to manage that? What's going to happen in the future? Because unfortunately there's a lot of advice from the government, but there isn't a lot of detail at the moment. And that's why we are trying to pump out legal updates all the time. I've just written one this morning on the new MOT rules that have come out today, because garages are open, they can stay open, and they're going to change. So from the 30th of March, we're all going to get a 6-month extension on the MOTs. But that's come out this morning, and already that's been updated on the government website. So yeah, things are changing all the time. We are ridiculously busy, but we're trying to get the information out there so people can at least read it. But obviously people still want to ring up, and we're almost, as a little bit of a legal advice, it's almost business advice, business consultancy, and a little bit of counselling, really, because it is a tough time for everybody. But you know, we're trying to get through everything as much as we can. Because people haven't got one question, they've got multiple questions when they're on the phone.
So Nona, I mean, one of the questions that you touched on there is that there are some dealers that don't know whether they should be open for business or not. Some that I've seen online have got a workshop and a showroom. Where do they stand? Should they be open? I mean, you know, granted, everybody should be at home during this time and taking it incredibly seriously, but there are some key workers who still need cars fixed and MOTs. How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why the government have said garages can stay open. And even though they're introducing this rule where from the 30th of March, you're going to have 6 months extension on your MOT, they have said at the moment that those garages can still stay open, because obviously people have got to get repairs, services, etc. Same with bike shops. Bike shops are open for the same reason. But yeah, selling cars, car showrooms are a no-no, because you obviously got the people walking around. But a lot of our dealers are saying, well, how can we get into distance selling now? What can we do about that? And I think Jason's been doing a lot of work in that area this week, because that is a way that people can still get some income, but observe all the things we're supposed to be doing around COVID.
Okay, thank you. We'll touch on the distance selling in a bit with Jason. I think one of the questions I'd like to get onto reasonably quickly, if we can, is about furloughing staff. Now, car dealers are closed across the country. They are extremely struggling when it comes to wage bills. Fortunately, the government has given us some support, us business owners some support for those staff. But what does it mean for dealers? How do they go about doing it? Can we just talk about the process that they need to put in place and when they do it to start furloughing staff?
Well, yes, I must say the option of furlough leave, once it was announced by the government, it was like a lifeline to our members, because up until now, as far as employment is concerned, the main inquiries were about how we can go about laying off our staff and making them redundant. Once that has been announced, it's changed to what can we do about applying for that furlough grant and how we put our staff on furlough leave. It isn't a legal concept, the furlough leave in itself. That's something new that's been introduced. Essentially, it's a leave of absence. So the government is going to subsidize 80% of the wage cost, or £2,500 per month, whichever is the lower, on the condition that the staff is kept employed as an alternative to being laid off or being made redundant. There will be a dedicated HMRC portal, which is now being built, we understand. And the government has announced that the first tranche of payment should be reached to businesses by the end of April. So these things should be put in motion pretty quickly, I would have thought. For the time being, and the government also said that the furlough leave can be backdated to the 1st of March. So with that in mind, given that apart from literally a few paragraphs on the government website, as to what it is, and giving us just general ideas, I briefly outlined what furlough leave is. We suggest that our members can use the templates that we recently published to announce that the selected members of staff are put on furlough leave for the time being, and they will get the 80% of the pay as and when the further details will be announced by the government. And of course, sorry.
Can I just ask a question on the specifics of that? How does the dealer identify who they want to put on furlough leave, and what should be the process that they follow now? Because there's a lot of staff, well, there's a lot of car dealer showrooms that are closed now. I understand that this hasn't been put out properly by the government yet. But there's a lot of dealers who need to take action, well, yesterday. So what should be the process that they follow, Kil?
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So the first thing to understand is that as far as the employee is concerned, they either will have to have a clause allowing suspension or laying off in the employment contract, or they will be furloughed off by agreement. So if they check the employment contracts of the staff, I would say, and if there is a specific clause that allows the staff to be laid off or put on short-term working or being suspended other than for disciplinary reasons, then the employer will be okay to go ahead with selecting staff. If it's not in the employment contract, then there should be an agreement with that member of staff that the furlough leave has been consented to. And again, there is a template on our website that the car dealers can be used for that reason as well. Another point to add here is that the decision who is selected for furlough leave is that of the employer. The employee can volunteer and say, oh, okay, well, for whatever reason, I'm concerned about my health, or I have some other commitments, or just for any other reason, I would like to be put on furlough leave. But it's the employer's decision in the end who goes on furlough leave and who doesn't. And if the whole business, or it's a regrettable situation, if the whole business is closing down, then the idea is that the full staff is then furloughed off and put on furlough leave. If parts of the business are working, as you say, like garages can still be running. So it's then down to employer to devise a selection criteria, obviously. It must be remembered that the furlough leave is an alternative to staff being laid off or being made redundant. If there is work coming in for that part of the business, I don't think that applying for furlough leave will be appropriate in those circumstances.
Kil, a question that's come in on the live stream regards to this from Wimbledon Carriage Company. They said a number of questions about it, but can a director make all staff furloughed, but then keep the business open online and run it on their own? There's probably a lot of dealerships out there looking to do that. Are they allowed to?
If the business is still up and running, if there is work to do for the staff, then I don't think that the furlough leave will be the right option in the circumstances. If the business is closed or there is a significant drop in the customer orders, then some or all of the staff can be put on furlough leave.
Can a director be put on furlough leave?
If the director in question is employed, then yes.
So they have to be on the PAYE scheme?
Correct.
So your advice to dealers now is to write to staff and ask them if they want to go on furlough leave if they haven't got a clause in their contract, and if they have, send them a letter saying that they have been identified for furlough leave, and they can do that immediately, even though the government scheme isn't out yet.
They can do so immediately. Bear in mind that the scheme can be backdated to the 1st of March. The problem will be is the payroll cycle, really, because some staff is paid monthly, some staff is paid weekly. Those who are paid monthly, it's expected that their pay cycle will not be affected. Those who are paid weekly, we don't know yet, unfortunately, whether the grant from the government can be claimed retrospectively, i.e. you pay your staff in the normal way and then apply for the money to be returned to you. From the legal perspective, I would say it's better to explain to your staff that until the money comes through the government, I'm not in a position to issue any payroll payments, but it will depend on the individual circumstances. That's still not entirely clear.
Because this depends on the government paying money back into businesses via the PAYE,
Right.
doesn't it? But what's clear is that nothing is clear. We don't know how that's going to work. There will be a number of businesses out there where cash flow is critical. What happens if they haven't got the money in the bank account to pay their staff on the payday that they should be as part of this furlough scheme? What do they do?
If there is no money in the bank, then I think the situation is quite clear. Well, no payment can be made, and the business just waiting for the grant to come through. And until then, unfortunately, the staff cannot expect any payments, and that's how it is, unfortunately.
Well, and then the question a little bit further down the line. This is a 3-month scheme, I think.
Initially, yes.
With that in mind, what happens if the business hasn't recovered at the end of that 3-month scheme? They have staff on furlough and can't afford to bring them back. Mm-hmm. Does that become a redundancy situation? And then do businesses have to face the redundancy costs that are associated with that?
Right. So the government said that there is a possibility that the scheme will be extended past the 3-month initial term. If it isn't, or the conditions are changed so that, as you say, the staff is being furloughed, the business cannot make the payroll payment to that member of staff, then yes, there is a redundancy situation. So
at what point will the businesses have to consider that? I mean,
at the point when we have a bit more certainty, really. So I would say initially it's not a question that should arise within the first 3 months. When the scheme is coming to an end, then the business should revisit its position and take any advice that hopefully would have been published by then.
Okay, I'm conscious that we're already 14 minutes into our broadcast and we've only covered one topic. I know that you guys have got a lot of information on your website about this. We've published stuff on Car Dealer magazine too, so we will keep that updated with the very latest information. So come back to that one. But let's try and move on to another topic. Kirill, thank you very much for that. Next up, let's move on to distance selling. Now, there's a number of dealers out there who will never have sold online, who will never have sold over the phone in these sorts of situations. What do they need to think about? I think, Jason, you're going to take this one for us, aren't you?
Well, anyone who's running a distance selling scheme, and this is going to be an organised distance selling scheme now, because the only way people are going to get cars are going to have them delivered, having looked at the website, paid for them online, or sometimes being paid for when they've been delivered to the house. Those consumers need to be given a written 14-day cancellation notice and the ability to cancel that contract within 14 days. And if they do so, then the car gets returned back to the dealer, but hopefully most people will keep the cars, and that keeps the businesses afloat. It's important to realise, though, that when we've done the legal update on this topic, we've put a clause in the terms and conditions for the wording, and it reminds the consumers that they must insure the car, even if they cancel the contract, and they must keep the car taxed as well. So you're having the car delivered, you have it for 14 days to decide whether you like it or not. Some dealers are saying you can drive for 150 miles during that time, and above 150 miles, they'll charge you £1 per mile extra. The important thing is that the consumer is given the right to cancel that contract within 14 days. If they're not given the correct cancellation notice, they can extend that cancellation period for a full year if no cancellation period is ever given. So it's very important that consumers are given the cancellation notice, and the wording is on our website in the form of legal update.
So Jason, can any dealer start selling online now? Can they start selling remotely, easily?
I mean, I don't know about easily, but the slight logistical problem is actually getting the vehicle delivered to the consumer, bearing in mind social distancing as well. So it may well be that they have to get a professional delivery agent to take it there, to park the vehicle on the side of a road, and to drop the keys and the cancellation notice through the letterbox. That's the way it's going to have to be, I guess.
So I mean, we were talking earlier that you're hearing from a lot of dealers who have got customers trying to get out of deals now that they've agreed. What would your advice be to them?
Well, I think what we're going to see in the short term and in the long term, I guess, is consumers who've suddenly had a new vehicle, a different vehicle, and their income suddenly dropping. And they're going to look to possibly seek to reject that vehicle or hand it back to the finance company. You know, if they suddenly can't afford the £300 a month that they're having to pay the finance company, what are they going to do? Well, the thing is, what a lot of them we think will do is that they will look to back the car and falsely make out there's something wrong with it in order to get their money back. And that's where Lawgistics will step in and try and help those traders who are being approached by consumers or finance companies saying that there's something wrong with that vehicle to try and get their money back, but we know there's not.
So, I mean, one of the questions that's just come in from Caledonia Vehicle Solutions says, so am I right in saying we still sell cars and deliver? I thought it was essential travel only. I mean, that is a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, really, people shouldn't be going outside for any other reasons than those listed by the government. And I mean, I can't see how this is one of those reasons, unless it's to a key worker, surely.
Well, it depends, because it says you can go and do your job and travel to your place of work unless, and if you can't do it from home. Well, they can't do that from home. But then the government has also said that delivery services are meant to continue. So you may have to get someone who specialises in the delivery of vehicles and possibly do it that way.
I think this is probably one we're going to have to discuss again as we know when we know a little bit more information.
Very, very tricky. I accept that entirely.
So I think we're pretty much rapidly coming towards the end of our 20 minutes, but I'm going to just try and get one more from the questions that have been asked here. There's a couple of questions on the same topic, and that is from sole traders asking, are they allowed to visit their own premises to help prepare vehicles or valet cars or carry out maintenance during this time of effective lockdown? I mean, I'm not sure which one of you can answer that question for me, but.
Who's going to jump in? I'll have to jump in. So are they talking about cars they've sold?
It's not entirely clear, but it's asking whether they can visit their premises to prepare vehicles with no risk of spread. And is it, as a sole trader, am I allowed to visit my premises to valet or carry on maintenance on their vehicles during this time? What would your advice be?
Difficult, isn't it? But anything that's to do with maintenance or service, the government has still said we can do that, but it has said specifically car showrooms must be closed, but garages can be open. So I guess you're looking at what sort of setup they have there, but they can't be going into prep. Well, they're going to have to go into prep cars, aren't they, for delivery if they're doing this distance sales scheme that Jason.
And of course, the other thing as well is the business itself might be closed, but the trader might still be going in there to work behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a bit of clarification from this question. He says, no, if the car's for sale, the cars are sitting for sale on his premises. So can he go there, prepare them for sale if somebody is interested, and then sell that car?
Yeah, I think if it's distance selling, i.e. nobody has gone there to look at the car. I mean, a lot of dealers are doing sort of video of car sort of run rounds and stuff like that. So I don't think that's a problem, because people are still going into work, as long as you are keeping the social distancing, so disinfecting, washing your hands, you're not coming into contact with other people 2 meters away, all those kind of things, which is what the garages that are allowed to be open are doing as well. So I think,
and crucially, yeah, and crucially, it's making sure that you're not actually open to the public. I mean,
yeah.
people in all businesses may go to their own place of business, even if it's only to clean up or tidy up. They still close, but they still have to visit their premises to do essential things. So I think as long as they're not open to the public, someone can go to their place of work and do things in their building that's behind closed doors, whether it be filming of cars ready for sale on the internet and for filming on the internet.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, guys. That's been absolutely brilliant. I hope it's been useful to our viewers. We will be doing this again. I think it's quite clear that we haven't got through even half of our questions, so we'll schedule another time to have a chat and answer these dealers' questions over the coming days, weeks, and months. In the next couple of days, I've got some interviews lined up with Robert Forrester from Virtue Motors and Dash Gupta from Marshall Motor Group, who are going to be taking part in a web chat like this. But if you've got any questions, if you need anything answered, please get in touch with me. I'm doing nothing other than sat in front of my computer. You can email me. I'm on james@blackbullmedia.co.uk. You can contact us via cardealermagazine.co.uk website. You can contact us on YouTube on this video. We will be looking at the comments. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will get notifications of when we're doing more live broadcasts like this. So that just leaves me to say thank you very, very much to the team at Lawgistics. That was really, really good. Thank you very much for your help and advice. And we'll be back again very soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.